All right, so remember, this is about thinking about the object you're doing, whether it's a car or anything else, as well, with the same reasoning we're doing. It's nothing new, right? We are talking about for like a six-sided object where we see three of them, right? So in this case, for example, we may have something like this, and we have areas that are looking towards the light source more than others and than others, right? So that gives you that everything that is looking towards the light source is going to be light. Everything that's looking away from the light source, it's going to be dark. And elements that are in between, they're going to be kind of like an in-between tone, right? Now, what we're doing with this is we're adding rounds to our object. So we're going to have some areas where those transitions are going to be more obvious. If I have something that does this, for example, and creates this surface, well, this side is still side number 2. It's just going to probably have a transition from this darker area into a lighter area into what it actually is, right? If I have this, then that's going to go from the light source and then it's going to start changing down. So really, it's what we're doing is just that in a vehicle, it tends to happen a lot more than in like hard drive, portable hard drive thing, which is a small thing. So with that, we can see that there are areas of this vehicle that are looking up to our number 1 side. There are areas of this vehicle that are looking away to our number 3 side, and areas that are looking toward number 2 side. So we're going to start working from that. So I'm going to start with my darkness on my number 3 side. I need a marker that actually works. It's gone. And you see I already kind of like did all those black areas. Right, so I have that side covered. This side should be darker because it is darker material, obviously, right? So I can add dark inside. And then I have the lighter side of this that is going to give me a little bit of light. And depending on where it is, this may be looking a little bit more towards my light source, but maybe as it starts going and looking back there, it starts becoming a little bit lighter. So we get a gradient from this, from like a lot of light to not a lot of light, but then it's going to have a strong transition, right? Because we have that round. And then it's going to start looking more also towards the light, which is coming from that side. And then as it starts going to the other side, it's going to start becoming a little bit less bright. Right, so it's going to do the same on this side, and so on. And we have a round in this case that's communicating them. So in this side, it's going to have that highlight. That's going to turn that. So I see that I also have the same kind of like gradient. I'm going to have my brightest points where my lights are doing that, and when there's changes in shape, and then we just let that kind of like transition have the same effect. On this side, I have the same effect on this side, but that side is actually looking towards my darker area. Oh, I've lost my marker. Here it is. Right? We have this area which is also looking up, so it's a little bit brighter. Probably exaggerated. And then we have this window, the kind of like this top that is going to do this, and then down, right? Until over here it does something flat. So like this, if this is looking towards my light source more, probably is going to be the brightest part of my roof. And as it goes kind of like onto the other side, it starts going a little bit darker. And as I'm going back down, starts becoming less interesting, right? Now I have that window, which is also going to be pretty dark. I'll recover that with my white later. And we have, in this case, this area that does that. So this is more or less similar to that. So it gets kind of like that darkness. This should have a little bit of white. We have another highlight here. Of how we have that kind of like form transition there. Right? So I may need to darken that just a little bit to bring a little bit more contrast to that. Is it clear how I'm reasoning around, how I'm understanding my surfaces? Or so? It's making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now this is going around, so let me add a little bit of a core shadow. And I think it's a good moment to start adding some black lines, right? So I'm doing the transition here of this side to that other side, right? So let's add some black lines. Oh, we have another change of surface here, right? From here to there, and it's a pretty strong change, so that's also going to be a little bit of a highlight. right? So let's add some shadow, like cast shadow on the floor to this. If you did your construction, you already have this. It's your kind of like top view reflected on the floor. And then let's make this one kind of like, now let's bring it inside still. So I can get my so I add marker to the top. Then I can add marker to the bottom. And then you can just add your little kinks. Bird poo. And that's pretty much it. You have a rear perspective in canson paper, right? So if you're doing it in perspective, the process is more or less the same thing. We have one thing looking up, one thing looking to the side, one thing looking to the front, and you have your markers. So you can start by with your lighter marker saying, okay, maybe this entire side is kind of like dark. That entire side is going to be dark. Alright, so let's for the front. I know, for example, that this shape is more or less like that, so it should be darker, right? I know that my windows are going to be a lot darker than the rest of the car, so I can mark them now, and then work from there. I probably should have done this in a different direction, but we'll see what happens. I should have done it in this direction. Let's go darker because it's not really showing us much. Alright, so that's kind of like looking down. I can begin making that lighter. Kind of creating that, and maybe I can help this with my color pencil a little bit if I need a little bit of core also doing the job. Okay, kind of as it goes up. And then, since I did this with a marker, probably I need to go from here dark, like kind of like darker. But that's how you're going to be approaching this. 60%. So if we have this one that should be lighter than that, then probably I need to find where that surface like lives. And then once it dries out, I'm going to try to bring this back. So I can clearly see that surface changing. Now I may need a little bit of more darkness on this side. Right, and so on. If I needed to add this, I can maybe darken some of this. So my brightest point is the point of my highlight. And I think this is doing a lot of shapes, so I can get some darkness here. And then let it fade forward. And then let it fade backwards, right? So I would do the same thing here. To make sure that I get that gradient, right? I may need a little bit of darkness here, so these two surfaces are divided, and so on, right? And I'm not going to work on this all the time it needs to, just so that you guys can get to work. But we'll see where we are once I start adding black lines. shapes. Alright, let's see how it looks. And you guys can keep working on your sketches while I keep doing that if you prefer. All I'm doing is kind of like sharpening my shapes. So there's still a lot to do, but you can see the shape starting to show, right? So then you would work with the shapes more or less in the same way as we did before. You would add your shadow, and then you would be ready to go. Come on, sci-fi fantasy.